Okay, so one of my videos that recently got a lot of attention, and that is the student loans video, the maths behind why I'll never pay off my student loan. So yeah, there's lots of questions on there, and I'm going to do my best to go through them and maybe explain in a bit more detail to help clear up the issue. Okay, so a guy called Kay commented, "You think getting 50k a year for your PhD is good? What the f*** are you studying? Also, no shit, you won't make the progress paying the minimum payments." So again, this kind of falls under the guise that I'm British in the UK, right? So 50k, when I say 50k, I mean in pounds, not dollars. So that equates to about $75,000. Probably a bit less nowadays after Brexit. Yeah, so, but salary is very different in the UK. £30,000 is a very good wage for most people. It's like, you know, a good graduate wage for most people anyway. When you come out of university, when you get your first job, £30,000 is a really good level to start at. Most people graduate roles typically start from 23,000, 25,000. If it's in a sector such as like a patent attorney or an actuarial scientist or something, you know, that's a bit more high caliber, or law in general, you're looking at £30,000. If you go to London, it's always a few £1,000s more. The cost of living is generally a little bit lower here than America, so yeah, you gotta. Everywhere's different. You've got to kind of gauge that yourself. But hey, okay. CF Nord commented, "You lived the last 4 years with 14,500. When your first job gets you, let's say 40,000, then just pay off 20k a year. Your debt will be gone in no time, and you will still have more money than before." You'll forget about income tax. Income tax in the UK is very strange. It's bracketed really weird. As soon as you start paying income tax, there's varying bands, and I'll put them up here. They're the bands. So as you can see, when you're on the higher paying rate, you're paying 40% income tax, right? So for every pound you earn, 40p of it goes straight away as tax. So you only get 60p out of every pound, or 60 cents for every dollar that you earn in the higher tier bracket. So if you use £40,000, for example, the gross for that is about £3,333 per month. That means roughly about £1,000 in tax you pay. So your take home from 3,300 is only 2,300, and that's obviously only taking into account income tax and national insurance, which is stuff like the NHS and things like that. That's what that gets paid out of. That's only taking them into account. Nowadays, you have to also have a private pension offered to you. You don't have to take it, but most people, well, you'd be silly not to take a private pension. Obviously giving yourself that longevity. It's basically similar to a 401k in America. We've only just recently got them. Well, it's not that we've only recently got them, it's just that it's only recently been made law for an employer to offer you one. You don't have to take it. They have to provide one if you want one, though, regardless of what job and how often you work. You can literally be part-time, 3 hours a week, and they have to provide one if you ask for one. So if we do some math, let's say if we do a 3% rough contribution. By the way, this website's great. I mean, it only goes down about £100 a month, right? So there's the rough breakdown. For £40,000 a year, you actually pay £5,698 in tax. You pay £3,820 in national insurance. You pay £1,700 of your student loan, £1,200 in your pension, and then the HMRC bit is how much the government gives you in contribution to your pension. But that's not money that you pay. That's just money that's kind of given to you. But anyway, shortfall is from 40,000, you only take home 27,500. So from 40,000, £12,500 of that goes straight back out the window again. So the income tax and other things in the UK is really high, but that's why we have things like the NHS, which is great. Right, so my point there is if I paid 20k off a year, well, I'd only be left with £7,000 at the end of that year. Don't forget the 14,000 on the PhD is tax-free. None of this applies to the PhD. It's 14,000 that goes in your pocket. So it's a little bit different. But if you pay £20,000 per year off your loan, you'd actually be way worse off. You'd actually be on 50% of the money that you had before. So today's video, I wanted to add a little bit of extra information that I didn't say in the last video. And that's to do with your contribution to your student loan. So a lot of the comments are from people mainly Americans, right? And your loan system is a loan, and it works on the fact that if you only make minimum payments, it will inevitably roll over, kind of like I explained in the video. So it makes more sense to make more than the minimum contribution if you're in America. Now, I kind of glossed over this fact, but I'm going to go over it now to kind of clear some things up. But basically, in the UK, under the student loan system that we currently have, and I say that importantly because it can change, and I'll get onto that in a second. But under the loan system that we currently have, 30 years after your first contribution, no matter how much money you've paid off the debt will be cleared entirely. Say you paid £1,000 a year off for 30 years, that means you've paid £30,000 off. It gets wiped, no matter how much is left. If I paid £2,000 a year, which only just covers the interest based on the last video, right? So if I paid £2,000 a year off my student loan, after 30 years I'll have paid £60,000 and then it'll get wiped. So would you rather pay £30,000 or £60,000? Because either way, you're not paying the full thing off. And that's kind of the point. Also, this April, they're increasing the threshold at which you have to make a payment. As it stands today, on the 15th of March, it's 9% of anything over £21,000. Come this April, it's changing to £25,000. So you won't actually have to make any payments at all until you're on £25,000 or more. So that means there'll be less and less contributions made on people's student loans, and that time that you're paying it back will just inevitably get longer. So this gets me onto the fact that as it stands, this whole thing that, as I keep saying, as it stands, as we currently are aware, our contracts have changed significantly since I first signed it. So when I first signed mine, it was supposed to be an interest-free loan until the April after you graduate. So we always graduate in June or July. It's not like school in America where you choose your own classes. You're pretty much given a set structured course for 3 years that you follow. There's no real deviation. There's a couple things you can tweak here and there to make it more tailored to your interests, but it's nothing like the American system. It's very much like school in a sense that you get a timetable, a weekly timetable, and you just follow it. Do what you need to do, sit your exams when they tell you to sit your exams, and within 3 years, bookended, you will finish your degree, pretty much. So it's always a three-year degree unless you do other things like an extended course, a master's, you're ill, take a year out, go and study abroad module. All of these things will extend it. For the average person, 3 years, they will be finished. So in the April after you graduate, that's when the interest was supposed to start accruing on your loan, your student loans. Now, a few years ago, I think it was like 3 years ago, I got a letter in the post that basically said, we've changed our mind, and we're now going to start adding interest to the loan from now. Not only are we going to start adding interest on the loan from now, we're going to go back to when you originally started 2-3 years ago and add interest for those days too. Right? So when I signed it, it was supposed to be interest free for 3-4 years basically until I finished. Then they said, sorry, we've changed our minds halfway through. We're going to go back and add interest. The purpose of this video is just to say, they've changed the contract before, they could change it again. And now they're increasing that threshold from 21 to 25,000. Less people will be making contributions. That 30-year cancellation period will be getting extended by some people. I don't know what the average graduate salary is, but let's say it's £24,000. That means when you graduate and you get your first job, you're not going to be paying that student loan off. It's still going to gather interest. Eventually you'll get a pay rise or you'll progress in your career. You will start paying it off, but then it'll be 30 years from that day. So it's going the way I kind of hope it's not going to go, that they're going to keep extending this, and then in 15 years, 20 years time, they'll say, oh, we're getting rid of the 30 years cancellation thing. Who's to say they won't? They've changed other things in our contract already, even though we've already agreed and signed on them. And I strongly believe in 10, 15 years time, because don't forget, no one's got to this 30 years period at the moment. This only came in 2012, I think, or 2009. It was 2006. I think it got introduced in 2006 or something, but it was for the 2012 onwards people going to university. So no one's got to the 30 years limit yet. And I just think in 20 years time, 15 years time, they'll go, actually that was a stupid idea by a past government. This government's going to fix it, and we're going to do this to fix it. When I was in London the other day, I picked up this. It's a platform meet 9 3/4 ticket. How cool is that?